It's recovery this week. I'm David Frank.
And I'm Shauna McKenna Vitt.
How you doing, Shauna?
Oh, Damon, how am I supposed to answer that? I'm sitting in a little cafe sipping triple latte in a coastal town, Donegal, Ireland. So I'm going to have to actually respond with, I couldn't be any better.
Wow. I mean, look, typically you come to us from your house or your office or on the road working with a client, but Ireland, this is pretty good. This is pretty good.
Yeah,
You've
and I
really.
picked a nice stone wall to to have as my backdrop.
I love it. At first I thought, Shauna, did we up the budget for recovery this week? Because I'm still here in Recovered Life Central. So I love it. I
Oh,
love
I'm
it.
not
You're
expensing
traveling.
this trip, Damon. I'm not expensing this trip. Okay. So, as much as I would love to, maybe we can plan a trip and then expense it. But no, I'm
There
not
we
expensing
go.
this trip. How was
There
your
we
week? How are
go.
you doing? You've been
You
busy.
know,
We've hardly talked.
you know what? It's weird because typically, Shauna, you and I talk a lot during the week. I mean, even
Yeah.
texting, and I knew you were
Yeah.
traveling, and we hadn't planned a time to record this, which was my bad because I've been totally slammed. As many people that follow the Recovered Life journey here know, I'm an entrepreneur and have businesses. Recovered Life is one of them, and it's just like all of a sudden I got hit with a flood of new stuff in my life, business
Uh
opportunities
huh.
in my life, and
Oh, that's a good
it
thing.
went.
That's
It
wonderful. I like
is,
that kind of flood.
but I've always talked about being overwhelmed in recovery.
Mhm.
Like I've had a problem sometimes of being overwhelmed, and over the last, I would say, over my 30 something plus journey in recovery, your journey, the last 8 years, I've really worked on really kind of letting go from being overwhelmed. I'm not great at it, but I'm better than I
Right,
was.
but I mean that's a big thing to learning how to let go of being overwhelmed. Sometimes we thrive on the overwhelmed. We get to tell everyone, "Oh, we're so busy. I'm overwhelmed. I've got everything going on." So tell me a little bit about that. What so you said you worked on it, but you know, what strides have you made? Because I know we're
Well,
not perfect, but
this
no
is
buts.
interesting. I know, Shauna, you've had also a very big business career and you're a business owner and
Yes.
you're doing interventions, you're flying all around the world. And we want to
Yep.
get into the whole sober travel thing here with you too, because I want to talk about that. But what happens is a lot of the times as an entrepreneur and just going through life, I think anyone listening to this can relate to this, that a lot of times we have an idea about the way things should go.
Hmm.
Like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And when it doesn't happen exactly that way, for me, it used to create a lot of anxiety. And I realized, I used to have a major anxiety problem. And
Uh-huh.
I still have anxiety. I'm not perfect,
Sure.
but I'm like not anywhere close. Like, and for me, it was really working a 12-step program. Also, letting go was really the big spiritual thing in sobriety for me, is letting go, that I thought I had
Right.
to be in control, you know? I mean, I
Well,
don't
we
know if you
want
can
to be
relate
in
to that.
control, right? We do our things. We want to control the outcome. We want to say we had a business, right? We've got a pipeline. We work through the pipeline. You don't want to just let go of things. So we're not. I'm not. I know you're not talking about just. Oh well, you called a few clients. Now I'm going to let go. That's not the case. But if I hear you correctly, it's the letting go of the results or just the letting go of that overwhelmed feeling and really staying say in controlling the controllable, letting go of the uncontrollable. Is that what that?
Absolutely. It was, I think, and one of the things, that I learned through Al-Anon, codependency,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff, and really honestly, the Recovered Life show has helped a lot with this over the years of just talking with interesting people like you, people who have really great sobriety, therapists, experts. If you're raised in a home that had alcoholism, I think in a very young age, you learn, Shauna, that like,
Yeah.
okay, this potentially is dangerous. This is volatile. I have to
Right.
learn how to control the situation right? And you learn that, like I learned, for your own safety. And as great as my home was growing up, there was some alcoholism in the family and stuff like that, and I
Right.
learned that, right? And
Right. You have to control what you can so that you can
yeah,
make sure you get the outcome you want, from a safety perspective, right? Like if this is going on, I'm going to control what I'm doing or how I'm behaving. I'm not going to escalate. I'm not going to do this. And you're right. You learned at a very young age, hey, mom or dad is under the influence or they're drunk again. I am not going to escalate this situation. So you start to control your behavior and you're not honest about your own behavior.
yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
you don't even say how you're feeling in those situations because it's going to be taken wrong or the response won't be good.
Well, and I think also too, what's interesting about this is you learn that to plot. Okay, well, if this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do it, right. And you know what it does is somebody told me very early on, and I didn't get this really honestly. I got it kind of like superficially, but I
Okay.
didn't get it really deep down inside until much later that, like, okay, there's your plan, and then there's God's plan. And you want to
Right.
let go. You just want to do the work, because if it has to be exactly the way that you think it should be all the time, if you're not open, that's a very small slice of what could happen. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And that is such a difficult concept, right? So, in order to grasp that concept, we have to go back to what is my relationship with God or my higher power? Or do I believe there's a universe that has my best interests at heart, right? Like if we take God out of it, for me, it's God, definitely higher power. I believe that God has a plan for my life. I believe that God is in control. I believe that I can mess things up very well when I start to take the reins of control back and want to plot and plan and mitigate every possible outcome. And then, like, look at me, just even talking, my hands, I'm just thinking about controlling things and I'm already tense. Whereas if I've done the work that I need to get done, it's like building a pipeline, say. I can't just call two people and expect that my pipeline is going to be built. Oh, I've done the work. But if I show up to work every day, I do the follow up that's necessary. I get things to people that they need to be. I am able to, or I call everybody back that needs to have callbacks. I treat them with kindness, love, whatever. I get what I do for them, what I tell them I'll do. So I
Yeah.
don't flake out on anyone. I make more calls than is necessary. Then I've done the work. Then I can let go of the results. I believe that if I have shown up and done the best job I can do for that day, then I leave the results to God. Now, you don't just get to work one day and say, okay, God, let's do this. You've got this now. I put my work in for one day. So you've got this. But every day, really seeking how to show up in life 100%, then you leave the results and I don't worry about them. And I really don't. I mean, it's a bit of a challenge with my husband because he likes to plan for any eventuality. And I say, no, we take care of everything we possibly can today for me. And I'll leave the results. And that can be tough. Because he's like, how can you not worry about our retirement? I'm like, I am not worried about our retirement because for 100 years, I put in money into our retirement and we have trusted financial planners and they have told us that we're good for our retirement. So I'm not going to carry that worry today.
Yeah.
I would be worried about my retirement if I hadn't been responsible, Damon.
There are things to worry about. There are things, and as a business person, look, when I'm working with people, we want to try to get results, right? So it's not about letting go and like, oh, well, whatever's going to happen. You have to put in the work, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, you have to put in the work. But it's been for me, it's been a learning experience. But I do, there is freedom. There's freedom in not being able to let go a little bit and say, look, I'm just going to do what I need to do. And I'm not going to necessarily worry about what other people are going to do. I have to trust that that's going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, I'll learn from that experience and I'll make it maybe a different call next time. but there's
Mhm.
only so much I can do. There's only so much which is in my control. And then there's disillusion, like that, people run around. I see a lot of people running around thinking they have all this control. Like you're talking about retirement, like you don't have a lot of control over it. Like you can't control the market and what it's, you know what I mean? You just can't.
I want to go back to what you said. You said, I've done my job. I can control this. And then I leave it and I can't control what other people are going to do. I have to trust that, I've shown up, I've given them what they need, and they're going to make whatever decision is right for them. That's where worry steeps in for me traditionally, right? What are they going to do? Are they going to sign with me? Are they going to, are they going to go with someone else? Are they going to find a different interventionist? Well, my God, if they find a different interventionist, excellent, because it might be the better fit for them. Because there is a power at work that is deciding, say, the fate of those things, or God's plan is going to be God's plan. And so I just go, okay, well, you know what? How can I help you? Maybe they have chosen a different one. Maybe they wanted a male interventionist for a male client instead of a female interventionist. That makes a lot of sense. I don't take it personally. I don't feel like I've lost a client. There are plenty of clients to go around, but that's where I have traditionally worried. Like when I was selling software, I would do all the work I had to do. And then we, submitting contracts, we're working through with the lawyers, and I would worry and obsess and lose sleep. Are they going to sign? Are they not going to sign? Are we going to be able to deliver? We're not going to be able to deliver. What's going on with them? What's going on at their company? Those are the things that I would traditionally worry about that I don't even think about anymore, because I say everybody has a plan. God has a plan for everybody, and it's going to happen the way it's going to happen.
Absolutely. And I think people are listening to this and said, yeah, easier said than done, Damon. Like you don't understand my and I said, no, because I've had sponsees say, no, you don't understand my unique situation. I'm in the insurance business. I'm like, man, I was a talent agent, for several decades. Like I did, like talk about not being able to control things. Like, your whole existence is that. So I totally get it. Like when people say it's like, I struggle with this, but it kind of, I also say it is what it is too, you can only do what you can do. And that's good enough. Typically I find, and if it's not, screw them. Like I've learned, it's like,
right. But the other thing is the worry. You cannot worry about what other people are going to do. You have zero control over that. And what happens when we worry? We get anxious. We get our shoulder, like I'm talking about being worried or anxious. My shoulders go up. We feel tightness in our chest. We're not breathing. We're not present to who we are with right in the moment. And that's what we're called to do, is to show up right in the moment and be where we are, be where our feet are. But if we're worrying about all the outcomes of everything, or what clients are going to do or not do, then we're not present to those around us, and we can't be, we're not there for them. We're not showing up fully present. So,
well, one of the things
it's a practice like anything else, Damon. Go ahead. Sorry.
It is. No, I was going to say, one of the things I regret the most, if I have any regrets over my whole sober time, there's a couple regrets that I have, like regret's not even a really good word. Things that I would do differently with what I know now. Let's put it this way. Maybe I don't know.
Okay, yeah. No regrets. Let's not have any regrets.
But it would be, I would have enjoyed the journey more. I would have enjoyed it more. There was a lot of worrying that I didn't have to do. All I really had to do was show up, Right. And just do the best I could. And
that's kind of where I am now in my recovery 2.0. Because I had so many decades of sobriety, and I probably didn't enjoy the journey as much. Whereas now I am enjoying the journey, and I've really learned and grown in wisdom from the other people around me. And my sponsor has been really helpful to me, just being able to be where my feet are, encouraging me to be where my feet are, not to worry. But the other thing is, as I've grown in recovery, not just say in my 12-step work, but in overall recovery. And I've studied mindfulness and meditation. And you create this entire set of toolbox that enables that. And that's where I'm actually enjoying life more, because I can be here. so maybe we pivot. Maybe we pivot to now, like to what I'm doing and how I'm enjoying
Yeah,
life more. And that
that's what I
includes
want to talk with you
sober
about. That,
traveling.
like,
Maybe we segue over to that. So here's the thing. I set this trip up. You know, I was in Ireland last summer. We've done podcasts about that. My family is from Ireland. My father is an immigrant. We still have a little cottage here. And there's when my therapist told me, I said, I don't know what it is. I just feel so drawn to this country. And she said, there's something called blood memory. So like your blood actually remembers. And that's why I feel so at home here. Whether or not that's true, I'm taking it as truth because I can't wait to get back from the second I leave.
wow.
So I planned this, it was a retreat. It's specifically a recovery retreat. Some women are in recovery, some are new in recovery, some are not, and not necessarily recovery from alcohol, but different things. You know, we're all recovering from something, Damon. It could be
Yes.
separation, divorce, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, post-COVID, you know, whatever. So, and I say that because there's going to be pictures of me and people on Instagram, and not everyone is in recovery from alcoholism. So I'm not breaking any anonymity or anything for people. If you see pictures of us, and they're posting lots of pictures too. So here is how my program, or being present, being calm, being grounded, has helped. We all fly into Boston. We meet in Boston, and our flight is delayed. Okay, well, so we get to Ireland. We get to Dublin an hour late, say, right? The next morning. No, this delayed 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. 1:30, we board the plane. 2:30, they pull us off the plane in Boston. They say the flight's not going tonight. Okay, so there's a couple of things. Traveling with women who've had time in recovery or have studied mindfulness or have been in, and I don't mean women or men, my experience was just the women that I was with. Everyone is practicing acceptance. What can we control? What can we not control? So we were just enjoying each other's company in the airport, just being like, okay, well, maybe there was a bigger plan. Maybe the plane wasn't, because they said it was mechanical issues. Well, I can tell you, I'm really glad that we didn't go. If they didn't have the mechanical issues all taken care of. But just being in the moment with each other, we enjoyed our time in the Boston airport, and then we ended up at a hotel. We had a good sleep. Well, not a good sleep, 3:30 to 7:30, and then back at the airport. Some people went and cruised around Boston that they'd never seen Boston before, and just radically accepting the situation. Now, it did shorten our time in Ireland. It shortened our time. I had set it up so that we would have a retreat for 4 days, and that has been amazing. We'll talk about that another time, because the priest who ran the retreat, he is doing a study in biospirituality. So the link between, it's a real somatic, it is phenomenal. So he did a lot of exercises with us and that. And then we started to tour around, and we were going to have days to do whatever. And so we're on, I think, our 4th day. We should be on our 5th day, or I've lost track of time. But this was set up as sober travel. Like, everyone is, there is no alcohol in this trip. It's just what we do. And there's different types of travel. You know, you can find alcohol-free adventures. There are Facebook groups if you look for sober travel, and they travel groups, and you get good discounted rates and things. And you know then that you're with a group of sober people. But even just being sober and traveling, like in my marriage, I've been married 19 years. Outside of my relapse for 2.5 years, I was sober our whole marriage. And so all of our travel, I traveled sober.
Yeah,
and,
so-
there's so many benefits. What have you found to be some of the benefits when you've traveled, just being sober? Like, your trip is slightly different.
Okay, I'm not a huge traveler, international traveler, but a lot in the US. I'll tell you.
Oh, I mean, just travel overall. It
No,
doesn't matter where
yeah.
you go, but just
Okay,
traveling.
mixed at first. One of the biggest fears I had when I got
Uh-huh.
sober, because being in business, you do travel a lot. Now,
Right.
I will tell you, one of the biggest fears I had was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this sober.
Yeah.
It has not been as hard as I thought. I think the biggest thing was getting over myself. Once I
Okay.
was over what I thought about what it was, it wasn't a big deal. But does that make sense, Shauna? Because like what
It
I
does.
thought, people were looking at me. Why isn't he drinking? What's going on? Now, I will tell you, people say, it's not a big deal. People are never going to mention that you don't drink. You're going to be in situations that you're not going to be pressured to drink. they say, you know, everybody has evolved and all this other stuff. I haven't found that to be the case. I've been in several situations, especially in early sobriety, where people are like, why aren't you drinking? Like in front of group, like, okay, but in general, it wasn't what I thought it was. It was like if I could survive those awkward situations
Right.
and then also have a good program and also have a good checking in with myself. You're talking about being in the present,
Mhm.
knowing that I'm checked in. I call it the spiritual, I call it the alcoholic Wi-Fi. If I'm connected
Okay.
with my higher power and I know I'm an alcoholic and I've asked for me, like I started the day with, can I have another day? Thank you for yesterday. Can I have another day clean and sober? I
Right.
feel I have a layer of protection. Now, whether I do or don't, I believe it. Okay. So all the people out there is like, that's a delusional, Damon. I believe it. And so I believe I'm not going to, my fear, and I'm going to turn this over to you to see what your thought is. That my fear is I would end up in Ireland. I would end up in a cool bar that I would like because I used to love bars the way they were, and then I would just end up drinking because that was my alcohol career,
Oh,
right? I
that
would
was
just
your fear
end
when you
up,
first got sober. Not
yeah,
now.
exactly.
Not now.
No,
Let's
not now, not
clarify.
now.
No, but when you
Yeah,
first got sober, you thought you would just fall into a pint of Guinness.
yeah, and so like I've never been to Ireland, but that would be my fear going. But now I know I've had enough experiences traveling. And if you could survive Vegas, you could survive anything.
True.
You know, and I would go to Vegas like 5 or 6 times a month. So I was, you know, in situations that were heavily alcohol related. And I, you know, I never relapsed. It was because I had to get over the fact that everybody was looking at me as a non-drinker. And the reality was, is that's just not true.
No,
No one
that's
gives
our
a
own
crap.
ego that we think that everyone's looking at us or thinking about us when they're really just thinking about themselves. And when their next streak is coming. To your point about, you know, in early sobriety, you would think of going to Ireland, then getting into a bar and then falling into a pint of Guinness. I can understand that because that's, you know, so it's almost like baby steps. Like when we first started to travel, it was our honeymoon. I'd just gotten sober. We did not go to an all inclusive place. Okay. We actually went to a place where you pay for your drinks because I was no longer drinking. So it was not everyone was always drinking all over. We went to a resort where you paid for your drinks. So we set it up. So I used to take specific steps to make it easier on me because I think I was only, I don't know, maybe 5 months sober when we got married. And so I wanted to make sure that I had taken certain steps so that it wouldn't be as difficult for me. Turned out it wasn't that difficult. But if I'd gone to an all inclusive resort, I think it might have been, Damon, everybody drinking around me, no bill or bar tab to see. I could slip in some stuff, whatever. Anyway, so that's
You're
that.
right.
How I look
You're
at
right.
how I look at it now is I either travel with other alcohol free people or I travel with my family but it's like you said, I traveled for business for 20 years and never drank,
You know,
right? So
though,
you
I
do
have to
get
tell
used to
you.
it.
See, I do the opposite. I do the opposite of you. Okay, so I no longer plan
Oh
alcohol
no, I
versus
planned in early
non-alcohol.
recovery. I
Yeah,
think in
yeah,
early
yeah, yeah.
recovery you have to be super planner.
You have to be a super planner because, and if anybody's listening to this and saying like, well, I'm just going to fly by the seat of my pants, bad. Like, look,
Bad
early
idea.
recovery, having the mini bar removed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the easy thing. If you're on a cruise ship, there's always, you could check in. You know, I've heard this several times. You could
Yeah.
check in with the concierge and say, "Hey, I'm sober. If there's any other sober people that need help or whatever,
Right.
I'm here." Right, and
Yeah.
give them a way to contact you. And I heard that works really well. But for me, I think ultimately what it comes down to is understanding your boundaries and
Mm-hmm.
having and being honest with yourself. I have been in situations where I've put myself through situations in traveling that I didn't have to be in,
Okay.
because I didn't want the other people to be uncomfortable.
Right.
instead of saying, "Hey, I'm just going to go do my own thing." And I remember earlier on in sobriety, I had to spend a lot of time in Montreal, and it was with these people who were total partiers. And about 3 or 4 days into it, I was like, you know what, this is really grinding me spiritually, because
Right.
there is a little bit of a defense, not a defense, but there is a little bit of a shield you have to put up with knowing your boundaries in recovery. Like, you don't want to just be in a situation that's bad.
Right.
So I just said, you know what? Hey, I could still hang out with these people, but do it via dinner, do it at breakfast. I don't have to do it when they're drinking. So I just went out and did my own thing during those times.
Oh yeah, I would go either to the dinner or just the beginning of the cocktail hour and not the dinner. I was the same thing, or set up my meetings at breakfast. I set up a lot of breakfast meetings, same thing. So I mean, I don't want to go down. I'm happy to continue down that path. I think that, people don't need to be afraid of sober travel. There's lots of opportunities for alcohol-free travel, and cool places. And like I said, discounted rates. Or this was a travel retreat, so it had some teaching elements that have been blended with thing. It was my first one I planned, Damon, and I can't wait to do it again. I've loved it. We're staying in eco lodges, so last night we were actually in a yurt that had a dome, and so had it been not cloudy, we would have seen the sky. It's just really, really cool place. There's so much to see and to do, and when you're not hung over or tired or focused on getting to the next bar to drink, then you actually have lots of fun and you learn lots. Now, I will say, in England and Ireland, they've had a real concerted effort to reduce drinking just overall, harm reduction. And so if you're in a bar and you say, I'm driving, they won't they won't keep asking you if you want to drink, because they have extremely strict drunk driving laws, and people know that. And so they might have a drink. Like, it's not uncommon. Whereas we think of the Irish and the British cultures where they're big, heavy drinkers. They are, if they don't have to go anywhere, or if they're going to take a taxi home, or if they're planning a big night out. But for just like stopping in at a bar and easy, you'll see people not drinking. They'll just have a pop or a soda, or they call it a mineral here. So, it's cool to see that too. There's a healthy respect for alcohol. Yeah. So anyway, I see my friends coming in. So here's another thing you can do. We're at a tattoo parlor. Some of my friends are getting Irish tattoos while they're here. So get to experience that. But I see them kind of walking behind my camera here.
Well,
so
Shauna, you know what?
Get moving.
This has been a really great recovery this week. I wanted to say, you know what? I think what we need to do in the next year or so is plan a recovered life trip, sober trip
that'd
for
be
everybody, and do this
That'd be
again.
Great. I'd love to see if there's interest for it. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Absolutely, guys. Comment, and I'm going to have Shauna send us some pictures as well. Have a really great trip. I'm going to talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Damon. Always good to see you, and thanks for Covered Life family. Bye.